Welcome to Sacred Cow Shipyards, where no ship is safe from being called a piece of ship. To begin with, I suppose I should apologize. It appears my vocoder has picked up some sort of virus, and it has been very difficult to expunge. So no, I am not experimenting with new audio settings, I am simply sounding strange right now. At least no randos are trying to hack in and take over the feed this week, so take what you can get already. Now, for those of you who have that whole Disney Plus streaming service, or, can read a fucking calendar, you probably should have seen this episode coming. But for those of you who don't, or didn't, or can't, here we go. In a literal galaxy full of asinine, idiotic, and just plain stupid designs, the design of the Uyghur One sets itself apart by being the single stupidest design in Star Wars ever. I said what I fucking said and I didn't goddamn stutter. I don't even know how to start with this fucking monstrosity. This goddamn flying fucking iron. It's a goddamn iron. It's the stupid device that you fucking morons use to flatten out your clothing because for some reason wrinkles in your clothing are offensive to you. It's clothing. You wear them. They get wrinkled. Get the fuck over it already. And regardless of your clothing fetishes and this, that, and the fucking other, who the fuck looks at a goddamn iron and thinks that'd make an amazing looking spaceship? No, it fucking doesn't. It's a goddamn iron. And then worse, because we're going for peak fucking stupid here, it couldn't just be an iron where it scoots around on its bottom and flattens the fucking fabric of the universe or something. I don't fucking know. Oh no. This iron lands like a normal fucking iron, and it flies like an iron that you put in your closet with the flat part not down, with the flat part behind it, because why the fuck not? We're going for peak stupid. I mean, seriously, why the good goddamn does the Surf One land on its back and fly upright? There is literally no benefit to this. I mean, the hilarious thing is even your back-assward species has experimented with this stupid fucking design before. The whole transition concept, at least, by way of the Lockheed XFV, otherwise known as the Salmon, which is an awesome name for an aircraft, not. And the Convair XFY Pogo, which at least makes a certain degree of sense once you take pogo sticks into consideration, because why not? Anyways, both of these abortions were what were known as tail-sitting VTOL aircraft. That is to say, they landed on their tails exclusively, and they could do vertical takeoff and landing because basically their entire fuselage was pointing directly up. Their turboprop-powered rotors were on top of the aircraft at that point, and it basically took off and landed like a helicopter and then flew like a normal plane. Yes, I know you're saying you have one of those now by way of the Osprey. The point is the Osprey only rotates its wings and its engines. On these two goddamn monstrosities, they rotated the entire fucking plane. Hey, pro tip to all the idiots out there. Apparently landing an aircraft by looking over your shoulder is a pain in the fucking ass. And predictably, both projects were abandoned, both because the landing was a pain in the ass and because their performance was simply overshadowed by other aircraft. The VTOL benefit wasn't enough to offset the other problems with the aircraft. But then, some enterprising individual at LucasArts/Kuat Systems Engineering decided why not resurrect this monstrosity and make it worse? Because, seriously, why? Why does the Indentured Servant 1 rotate to go up into proper flight profile? Why doesn't it just land upright? Or better yet, why isn't it built that it just flies like it looks like when it's on the ground? Why does it need to quote-unquote stand up? What does that buy you? It buys you abso-fucking-lutely nothing. I mean, the hilarious thing is that the Uyghur One was designed as a police or military patrol craft, so you would want to minimize its profile while it was gunning down a target, so the target would have a harder time shooting back. And all they did was actually maximize its profile so it can get shot more for the win. Which, of course, brings us to the unpaid worker one's cockpit or command deck or whatever platform the pilot is standing on while they're trying to drive this goddamn thing. Does it rotate? Does it not? No one fucking knows. I mean, in the original trilogy, it definitely rotates. In the prequel trilogy, it might not. In the now Book of Boba Fett, it probably doesn't, although it might have just broken and gotten jammed in the vertical position and just didn't rotate for that episode because it was, old and worn the out. No one knows. But in any case, why in the ever-loving would you add that level of complexity to the equation? I mean, why do you want to have the cockpit have to rotate? What benefit, again, does that give you? If nothing else, you lose a significant portion of the internal volume just to the rotation space. I mean, I don't know if where the platform is hinged, how it is hinged, how it rotates or anything, but still, you're losing space to this. There's got to be enough space for it to rotate if it's going to rotate. And if it doesn't rotate, then why the does it land on its back? I mean, y'all saw the goddamn effort old dad bod Boba had to go through to get into the pilot's seat. How does that begin to make sense? Although, really, dad bod Boba is best Boba, so, yeah. All right. I know enough about Helot 1's rotational properties. Can we at least talk about how it flying upright is just fucking stupid? If only because you took the entire internal volume of the vessel and subsected it into, the smallest decks possible. And understand that you have to have, a ladder way to get between the decks, which is already eating up a significant chunk of what are not very large decks to begin with. I mean, this ship doesn't have much space already just because of its fucking iron characteristics, and then you go and slice it up in the most awkward way possible. If you slice it the long way, at least the decks would be long and narrow as opposed to just narrow and narrow. I mean, supposedly Boba has space in this thing to, live and store bounties and, keep food and have a bathroom and stuff like that. And I'm just not seeing it because on top of, habitation space and the hatch for getting in and out of this stupid thing and all that volume you lost for the rotational cockpit or not, depending on whether or not it rotates or not, you've still got to have, a reactor, thrusters, drives, repulsors, although those technically live in the wings, shield generators, weapons magazines, torpedo launchers, blaster cannons, all this shit. Where the does it go? I mean, drives in the Star Wars universe have, volume and depth and length and size, and just where does Uyghur 1 put that? I mean, the one variation of this particular craft had a hatch where another variation's sensor grid lives, or sensor jamming grid lives, depending on which document you're looking at. Can we at least be a little consistent with how ridiculous these ships are, as opposed to just making it up as we go every single time it appears on screen? And while we're on the topic of, torpedo magazines and shit, I guess we should talk about Vassal 1's weapon complement, because at least that's impressive. Although, once again, what the ever-loving fuck is it with Star Wars and putting your laser cannons or blaster cannons, depending, as far away from the fucking cockpit as you possibly goddamn can? I mean, at least it came up in the Book of Boba Fett when they couldn't even shoot the fucking Sarlacc that was trying to eat the ship. Is there a better example of don't put the goddamn cannon so far from the fucking cockpits, or at least the center of goddamn mass of the ship? Now, on top of those blaster cannons or laser cannons or whatever the hell they are, which at least rotate, which at least solves some of the parallax problem, the Odalisque 1 also has concussion missile launchers, proton torpedo launchers, ion cannons, and a tractor beam. At least the latter two make a certain degree of sense, given that Boba and Jango before him were both bounty hunters or at least contract killers, so you want to occasionally be able to capture someone's vessel intact with them probably on it to settle your account with whoever hired you. And for those of y'all who don't know, ion cannons in the Star Wars universe are basically weaponized EMPs, directional. They're capable of knocking out ships without killing everyone on board. In fact, the Boba Fett actually used the ion cannon on the Uyghur 1 to capture an ABC Darien shuttle during the Mandalorian TV series, so you at least got to see that used. I mean, the hilarious thing about Hyrule 1 is it is the exactly perfect correct ship for Boba Fett from the original series. If you recall, in the original series, Boba Fett did not really have that much of a role. And yet, for some reason, the way he stood, the way he behaved, what he did, it's not really clear. That whole character just got ingrained into the Star Wars fan's psyche, to the point where the writers literally developed an entire planet and resident species / culture all based off this dude standing around in the background. And then, just to cap that off, the story, the culture that was built around him turned around and then told him that he wasn't a real member of the culture. Because, that makes sense. And in the same regard, the Uyghur 1 was always meant to just be a placeholder. It wasn't meant to be a real ship, it was simply meant to be visually distinctive to match the same visual distinctiveness of Boba Fett himself. Neither he nor his ship had backstories, neither of them had explanations, they simply existed in these Star Wars movies as things that were necessary to get the story done. They were supposed to be cool looking, and that was about it. And in that regard, they worked just fine. But, as with all details in the Star Wars universe, as soon as they start trying to explain those details, it all goes to fucking shit. Sometimes, folks, you gotta leave shit well enough alone. You don't need cutaway drawings of every goddamn thing. You don't need explanations of every goddamn thing. And yeah, the enigmatic dude standing around in the background did turn out to be the basis of a pretty awesome idea, although using that idea to fuck him over was kind of a fucking cheapskate thing to do. But seriously, if you're going to do artsy things for the artsy purposes, just leave it at that. Don't try to explain it away, because there is precisely no way you can explain away the concept of Chattel 1 is a good ship. It's not. It falls apart in every conceivable test, every measurement, everything. It gets by on plot armor, plot fuel, and plot weapons alone. Although that bong from the seismic charges, which would not work in space by the fucking way, is still pretty cool. So I guess at least there's that. And on a more serious note, I would like to specify that there is neither a galaxy nor a universe wherein enslaving your fellow Sophont is acceptable. So if you want to take it upon yourselves to rationalize, excuse, or otherwise simp for a totalitarian nation currently visiting all manner of atrocities, including slavery, upon the Uyghur people, well, just rest assured that the Cubifier has space for you. Try me. And that's all from Sacred Cow Shipyards. Please be advised that any ship left on the dock for more than 24 hours will be compressed to a cube at the owner's expense. Have a nice day.